championship plate. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! Can't wait! Let's go!
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning. I am Chris, and of course, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for everybody that's out there listening to us. We appreciate the support.
We appreciate everyone who's joining us live on YouTube and live on Facebook this morning. We have an exciting show this morning, Mo. We're going to break down everything that's happening in Week 11 of the NFL season. We have Key on the show in a little bit to talk some WWE stuff, particularly about my favorite WWE superstar, The Miz. Lots to break down about him later on in the show. But Mo, I want to start somewhere a little different today, okay? And I want to start with this. You're looking at a picture of a young man here. We're going to call him J.A. because those are his initials, and he is a minor, and that's what the news is referring to him as. J.A. recently attended he's 13 years old, by the way. He recently attended a sporting event at his school. It was a football game. And him and his friends decided to wear war paint to the game, as many football players and NFL players do. Below in the picture here, you can see a picture of him at the game in his war paint that he was wearing on that particular evening. 1 week after this football game, Mo, J.A.'s mom was called to the school where she was told that her son was being suspended because he chose to wear blackface to a sporting event, and that because of his hateful and racial choices, the school cannot stand for what he chose to do a week prior at the sporting event. Of course, his mom was taken aback. She Googled pictures in the principal's office of other people wearing war paint, NFL players, college players, and she tried to explain to the principal the design that he was going for on his face. She talked about how there were other students who were doing the paint at the game. A friend of his actually did the war paint for him so it could get the look that he wanted. The principal said, "We don't care. That's not what this is. This is clearly a situation of blackface, and we are going to draw the line and not stand for that." Or the other organizations have gotten involved since then, FIRE being one of them. FIRE has fired off 2 letters to the school to reinstate him to school and to remove the ban that the school has placed on him for all future sporting events within the school district. So it's not just he's an 8th grader, I believe. So it's not just the rest of the school year that he is banned from attending sporting events. He is banned by the district from attending any future sporting events, which would include his entire high school career as well. And then, of course, Mo, this would remain on his record that he was suspended for being racist and doing something that what he's alleged of doing is obviously very inappropriate and extremely controversial. So it is sports related, Mo, and it is culture related. And I know we don't always go to these places, but it's a Friday morning, and this is where we're going to start. So I'll give it to you, Mo. I laid it out for you. I explained the entire situation. Currently, there was an appeal with the school board for his suspension. The appeal was denied. They upheld his suspension. So this young man is currently suspended. He is currently banned from attending future sporting events, and his parents are at a loss because they don't know what to do, Mo. So I'll let you take over and react based on that.
The picture popped up on the screen before you really even get into the story. And when I looked at the picture, the first thing that came to my mind was I thought he was trying to be a football player. I was even thinking like he was going for almost an Ultimate Warrior kind of thing, right? That's what I'm seeing. And then you tell me the story. So what I can tell you is in my life, and I'm a little bit older than you, there are many examples of blackface. And it is a crude, it is a disrespectful, it's a terrible thing that some choose to implement or do. This is not blackface, in my opinion. It's not. It just isn't. And I understand we live in sensitive times and people want to do the correct things, but this seems like a moment of overcorrection. I'm not seeing what they see, and you said the mother showed pictures of other kids and doing that. I would have told her maybe pull up a lot of examples of actual blackface. There's a clear difference in blackface, and I just think the school is overreaching with this situation and what you're doing to this young man. You're getting to the point now where, with what has happened to him, what do you think about other young men and women out there thinking of celebrating or being part of their school or showing school spirit, and they simply want to put on a little paint, and now you're saying like, well, you just went there, you just disrespected somebody. Like, I understand the sensitivity and the need to try to do the right thing. This is a miscalculation and overcorrection. I don't see what they're seeing. And anybody that's in the chat, anybody that's listening to us right now or watching the show, if you disagree with me, feel free. All I'm saying is I've seen multiple examples of it in my life. I've witnessed it in my life. This isn't that.
And Mo, just to further clarify, nobody complained about the young man. This wasn't a situation where a parent went to the school and the school was reacting to a parent complaint. This was a situation where the school saw this photo posted on a school website from, pictures from the game. And a school administrator or a school teacher saw it and brought it to the attention of the school principal. And then the school principal chose to act. Obviously, we live in a world where if people complain, it's a whole different layer of things. We know how that works. This was not that situation. And I want to say that because as an educator myself, I often find situations where things have to be done because there was a complaint. And sometimes you're backed into a corner and you have to react to things. Otherwise, it's going to blow into a bigger situation. This is not one of those situations. This is not a situation where someone complained and they're putting pressure on the school to do something about this young man for this perceived situation. This is simply a situation where the administration of the school saw this picture a week later and chose to act on it and has not backed down. The school board in the school district has fully supported the school and the administration to uphold his suspension. And two different I don't even know, advocacy groups have gotten involved on behalf of this young man, and they have fired off letters and they are threatening potentially suing the school and the school district, and they have not backed down. So who knows where this goes, Mo? It's just unfortunate that this young man at 13 years old is getting such a taste of what the real world, negative side of the real world,
early
and the
in
negative
life.
side of sports. At the age of 13 for just wanting to partake in a sporting event in a way that his role models do every Sunday on the football field.
Exactly. I want to know, like, were the other students offended? Were kids going around during the day, the next day, and there was buzz that they were upset? There were a group of kids going around talking about what he did and telling administrators and teachers what he did was so outrageous. I think one person made a complaint, and it's built into this big swell that it shouldn't have done. And I get it. The administration, they acted. I think they reacted too prematurely, and they've put themselves in a situation where they don't know how to get out of it. They can't back out of it. And that may be a bad look for them, but I'm more concerned about the young man and the impact that it has on his life, the impact that it has on other students, and how they look at things and go, well, if that's the case, you see what they did to him. I mean, it can alter so many different things in different avenues when it comes to sports and society. Like you said, you're an educator. To me, it's okay to be sensitive, but this is an overreaction. It's an overreach. And if they don't correct this impact, this stain on this young man's life, that's terrible because it's going to follow him unnecessarily throughout his life.
And for anyone who's watching or anyone who's in the chat and you're thinking that, we're overstating what this is, I want you to keep in mind, Major League Baseball players, there was a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. His career ended because of tweets he made when he was 16 years old. Now, granted, the tweets were inappropriate and not something that he should be proud of, but he was 16. So a choice that he made at 16 came back to bite him in the butt when he was a full-on adult with a career. This is a 13-year-old. This is a national news story. If you Google his name, now his name's not attached to it currently, just his initials are, but if this progresses into court and whatnot, there's going to come a point, Mo, where you can Google his name and this picture and this headline is going to pop up. And who knows what that looks like when he is a young man and he's 20, 21, 22, 23, and he's going out into the real world to get a job somewhere. And they do a Google search of him, and this is what they see. And an intelligent person would take the 5 minutes to dive into it and figure out what it was and realize that it was nothing. But Mo, we know that's not what the world is filled with. And this could cost him opportunities 10, 20 years from now that he doesn't even realize it's costing him just because a school chose to make an example out of him for no reason.
And he could get labeled something that he's not for his life, right? Like you said, he could apply for a job. Maybe they Google search him and somebody goes, "Oh, you're that one racist guy."
Right, right.
We don't want that here. We don't want that here at our job, which you shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that's who he is.
Correct.
It shouldn't define him. So I don't want to get on a soapbox. I'm just going to say I disagree with this situation wholeheartedly.
Speaking of interesting situations, Mo, there was a football game last night, and you know what? Listen. You and Mac might feel pretty good about yourselves this morning. We didn't talk about Joe Burrow missing 2.5 quarters of the game when I made my prediction.
Fair.
In all fairness, he left the game winning. When Joe Burrow was in there, the Bengals were winning the game. So as far as I'm concerned, my prediction holds merit because when he left, his team was winning. But Mo, the question more, obviously, once Burrow leaves, the Ravens are a much better team, and they rolled the Bengals. And that's not really the story for me going forward. The story for me going forward is there going to be punishment or an inquiry into the Cincinnati Bengals? Because clearly they hid an injury from the NFL. At this point, you cannot dispute that. When Joe Burrow shows up in some sort of an arm contraption and it gets photographed and it pops up on the Bengals social media page for a hot second, and then it's removed, and then they're asked about it and they're like, "Oh, it was nothing, it was no big deal." And then he leaves the game because he can't grip the football because he re-aggravated whatever that injury was. I mean, I guess what the Bengals are going to say is it was just sore and it wasn't really worth putting on the injury report. I guess that's all you really can say because you can't acknowledge it didn't exist, Mo, because he had some sort of a contraption on his arm. So clearly it existed. So I guess they're going to argue that it was just a little sore and it wasn't worth putting on the injury report. But Mo, everything goes on the injury report. Doesn't matter what it is. So I'm curious, Mo, do you think there's going to be an inquiry as far as how the Bengals handled this apparent injury situation with Joe Burrow?
I absolutely think that the NFL is going to investigate the Bengals in this situation. I think they're going to take their due diligence and they're going to find out. They're going to ask, why wasn't this on the injury report? Even if you told me sore hand or sore forearm, that should have gone on the injury report. Clearly, this injury was something that was bothering Joe Burrow enough that he had that contraption, let's call it, on before the game. And you had to know there's the potential he would get hit, right? He would get hit and it could aggravate it or injure it worse, which ended up happening. And I think this really came down to the Bengals realized how big a game this was, what it meant to their season. Joe Burrow is a gamer. He wanted to play. I don't think he was pressured. I think they might have suggested you don't play. And maybe Joe said, "No, I can go. I'm fine." And instead of throwing caution to the wind, they let him play. And I do think they're going to be investigated, and they should be investigated.
But looking at the game last night, Mo, the Baltimore Ravens have clearly positioned himself as a threat for the number 1 seed in the AFC. There were some tense moments last night for Ravens fans. It looks like they've lost Mark Andrews for the season. If you are a Baltimore fan and you're going to try to downplay that this morning, then all I have to do for you is show you Lamar Jackson's reaction to that injury last night. Because when Lamar saw him down on the field, he took his helmet off and he spiked it and he walked away. Because clearly that's his guy, and clearly he knows how important that guy is to this offense. Obviously, when you're playing the Bengals rookie backup quarterback, not that big of a deal. But when you're talking about an offense in previous seasons that has struggled a little bit with, weapons on the offensive side, and I'm not saying they're nearly as bad this season as they've been in previous seasons, but he's still a big part of what they do on the offensive side of the football. And also, Lamar got a little banged up last night. He was hobbling around for a little bit. Obviously, he finished the game, so he's fine. But again, anytime Lamar takes a hit, anytime Lamar stays down the turf for a second or two, anytime Lamar goes to the blue tent, if you are a Baltimore fan, you have to hold your breath, because the last 2 seasons, Lamar has not finished the season. So, and there was one play last night, Mo. They were already up by 14, I believe. It was before they scored that last touchdown, and they called a design quarterback keeper from like the 12-yard line. And I'm sitting there like, why are we doing this? Why are we up by 14 with 6 minutes to play?
Right.
You don't even need to score a touchdown here. You can kick the field goal and go up by 17 and the game's iced away for sure. Why are you choosing to run Lamar in that situation when a quarter and a half earlier he was holding his ankle on the sideline? It's stuff like that, Mo, where I wonder what are we doing when it comes to these quarterbacks? We say all the time, we don't want to put them at risk. We got to play smart. But then you call a play for him to run.
And he's clearly hurt. And there was one time they called an RPO and he hit the corner and his ankle just gave out on him. He just went flat. And I didn't understand that, especially that situation late in the game when they were that close. Like you said, I would have just ran the ball 3 times in a row. And if we scored, great. If not, I'm kicking the field goal. Like you said, there was no threat that Cincinnati was coming back with the rookie quarterback. The game was over. Why put your quarterback in harm's way unnecessarily? I don't understand that way of thinking. Not when the whole thing about the NFL is supposed to be about protecting the quarterback.
100%. Obviously, with the Ravens will stay in first place. We'll see what shakes out this week with the Steelers and the Browns. The Browns have their own quarterback situation going on. But, Mo, looking at the Ravens, are they a Super Bowl threat based on what you see right now? Obviously, they have the record. Obviously, they have the quarterback. Health aside, let's assume that Lamar stays healthy for the rest of the season in the playoffs. What is the ceiling for this team when you look at the rest of the AFC this morning?
So I think they're one of the top teams in the AFC. And I don't want to be a downer, Ravens fans. I think your team is good enough to get to the AFC title game. But if you end up playing Mr. Mahomes, I don't think you're going to win the AFC title game. You're going to need a favorable matchup. I would argue if you played a team like Miami, that might give you some trouble too as well, because I know you can move the ball on them, but I don't think you can slow them down enough. If it's a shootout, you're losing that shootout. So I do think the Ravens, they have a good balance offensively and defensively. So I think they're good enough with Lamar, with the requisite weapons that they have. Although they just lost Andrews, who is his guy. He's his safety valve. That is a big loss for them. And I'll add this. Late in the game, OBJ catches a long pass. He makes a move to cut over, and the linebacker for the Bengals, I think his name is Wilson, he clocks him. And you could tell as soon as he clocks him, I'm like, I texted out. I was like, OBJ is going to miss some time. He's going to miss some time. And he's going to miss some time. That guy Wilson, everybody that he hit, they got hurt.
They got hurt. He got hurt.
I in no way am I saying he's a dirty, nothing like that. But when he hits you, he hurts you. That guy was putting everybody out. So
yeah, he was the hit on the tight end. He was the hit on Lamar when Lamar went down. Everyone he popped, they didn't get back up.
Yeah, if I see Wilson, I'm sliding. So look, going forward, I do think Andrews is a big loss, and it will impact them down the line. Good football team. I just don't think I would say they would have to get some favorable matchups to go to the Super Bowl. But looking at the AFC, and when you look at the Dolphins with their offense, when you look at, even though they just beat the Bengals, if Joe Burrow's healthy, but I'm going to assume that we don't have healthy Joe Burrow no more. I'm going to assume that if he's as injured as he looked, they might consider shutting Joe Burrow down. It is your franchise quarterback. There is next year. But I'm looking at Mahomes. I'm looking at some of the other top contenders, even within that division. That division is going to probably have 3 teams in the playoffs, at least 3. I don't think this just isn't the Bengals' year. I don't think they're going to be one of them.
No, it's tough, and you're 5-5. You still have those division games left. The Bengals were a good team last year, Mo. So their schedule down the stretch isn't the easiest. They have tough games remaining. They play in the most challenging division in the NFL right now. They're not going to find success without Joe Burrow. No. Obviously, we'll get updates today as far as what the injury looks like and what a timetable looks like for him. But I would say if he's not playing next week, the season's probably done. They can't go 5 or 6 or 5-7 and miss him for a handful of games and then think they're going to come out of this and get a wild card, not when they're already behind the division. And regardless of what happens with the Browns and the Steelers, they're still going to be in last place coming out of this week. So they're still going to be behind all 3 teams in their division, regardless of what the other 2 do this weekend. So to go from 5-5 in last place and climb into a playoff picture that is murky at best in the AFC.
I like that word, murky.
It's murky. It's going to be a tough ask for the Cincinnati Bengals. But, Mo, let's take a quick break right now. When we come back to Coffee and Sports, we're going to have Key on the show. Key's going to break down a couple of WWE things for us. We're talking about my guy, the comeback kid, The Miz. We're going to talk about that right on the other side. Don't go anywhere. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network.
Hey, y'all, I'm Key.
And I'm Jory, and tune in to Hoop Dreams and Touchdown Queens every Saturday at 5 p.m. over on Sports Empire Network.
And don't forget, also watch us on Roku TV at Northeast Streaming Productions. So tune in.
Welcome back. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network, and we are joined right now by Key. Key, how are you this morning?
Morning, Key.
I'm good, guys. What's going on, Chris? What's going on, Mo? Another Friday.
Now, Key, this is something that I never thought I would say, but The Miz is going to have a little match with Gunther, and people might want him to win it. That's all I'm saying. Miz as a babyface doesn't happen often. No. Usually when it does happen, it's not even because of him. If you think back to the Damien Sandow stuff, The Miz was kind of a face in that situation, but it wasn't because of him. It was because of Damien Sandow. The Miz is a great heel. I would argue he is one of the greatest heels of all time in WWE. But the past year or year and a half, since his WWE title reign ended in 2021, essentially, he hasn't done much. He hasn't really been involved in anything sustainable. He's had some, there was one point where I think he was 1-41. He just lost a lot of matches. He was putting a lot of guys over, which is what you do when you're at this point in your career. Miz is in his 40s, so we get that. But now it seems that Triple H and company have decided to repackage my boy a little bit and make him a face and kind of build this comeback story for The Miz, which might result in him winning another IC title and ending the historic streak of Gunther, who we know at some point has to drop the belt because he needs to move on and he needs to move up to the next division. So, Key, we know that eventually he has to lose it if he wants to move on into the World Heavyweight title picture. Is this where he loses it? Does he drop it to face Miz?
I don't think he drops it off. I don't think he dropped it to Miz. We all know Miz not great when it comes to the world championship. You know, he's held it a couple times, but he's more of the Intercontinental title guy. That's his bread and butter. It just seems like the Intercontinental title. I think either 8 or 9 times he's been Intercontinental champion. Yeah, Miz is a face now. He is better as a heel. I don't know if I like face Miz. Well, no, Miz is great on the mic, but Miz is not losing to Miz is not getting in the Continental title. If he does, there'll be a shocker to me. But I don't think he beats Gunther. I still think overall it's going to be Chad Gable.
That'll be an awesome shocker, though. Can I ask you this, Key? This stage in his career, I think it's just amazing that because Miz to me is one of the great Renaissance performers in the WWE. Every time you think he's kind of gone and dialed it back and just become more of an announcer, he wins a title out of nowhere. Like he just keeps reinventing himself. I'm kind of with Chris on this. He is one of the great guys on the mic. To me, he's the modern day Roddy Piper.
Well, that's why we get along so well. That's why we get along so well.
No, Miz is great, especially the mic work, and he's came a long way though. So, you know, him and Maurice getting together. You know how Maurice used, 2-time women champion herself. But no, Miz is great. I don't have anything against the Miz. I mean, he's not my favorite, but I don't have anything against the Miz. But I just don't think he's gonna win it here.
The Miz is an 8-time Intercontinental Champion. The record holder is Chris Jericho with 9. Mm-hmm. If The Miz wins the Intercontinental Championship, he ties Chris Jericho for the most reigns as Intercontinental Champion in WWE history. So not only is Gunther's historical streak on the line at Survivor Series, history is on the line at Survivor Series if Miz can become a 9-time IC champion. He also has never held this incarnation of the title. Last time Miz was IC champion, it was my favorite title. It was the white strap IC title. So he's never held this version of the IC title with all of his IC title reigns. So obviously I'm pulling for the Miz at Survivor Series. I think Gunther needs to lose the title heading into Royal Rumble. It opens up possibilities for him as potentially winning the Rumble or making himself a competitor for the World Heavyweight Championship after the Rumble. So I'm all for this. I am all on board this. My philosophy is this. Why make him into a face if it's not going to pay off? And maybe it's just, Triple H saying, hey, we've had you on the back burner for a year and a half. We appreciate the grind that you've always put in for this company. We're going to give you the little rub, put you back in the spotlight for a little bit. There's not going to be any payoff. And Miz is just like, great. Because that's literally the guy he is. Whatever they need, whenever they need it, he's that guy. And how do you know? Look
Company guy.
Happy goddamn movies The Miz has made for WWE. You tell The Miz to be somewhere, he will be somewhere. And that's why he is one of the longest tenured WWE employees currently on that roster, because he is the definition of a company man.
He is.
Let's pivot a little bit to the women's division, because I want to talk about my girl Bayley. Bayley, I think, has been done dirty for the better part of a year. I get it. She has a stable. She's the leader of Damage Control. But let's be honest. Damage Control was never designed to put Bayley over. Damage Control was designed to put the other 2 ladies in the group over. And they have done that for the most part. Her confidants were tag team champions. One of them is the women's champion right now. Obviously, with the return of Sane and the introduction of Asuka into this group, things are coming. Things are coming with this group. The writing is on the wall. Bayley's been losing her grip on Damage Control for months on end now. They've teased the breakup. They haven't done it. It appears that the breakup is inevitable at this point. But this is just the inner fan in me, because once Damage Control pulls the trigger and they turn on Bayley, Bayley's now alone. Bayley hasn't been alone in a long time. Bayley's now a face. Bayley hasn't been a face in a long time. Last time Bayley was a face, she was rocking a ponytail and she was hugging everybody. And we haven't seen that side of Bayley in a very, very long time. And I'm not saying Bayley can't succeed as a face, But I'm saying there's one little thing WWE could do to jumpstart her face career again, and that's bring back her best friend. Because she's going to need friends once Damage Control turns on her. And we all love us some Boss. We all love us some Sasha Banks. And she's out there living her best life, calling herself different things right now. I don't know what she calls herself currently. But Bayley has said in interviews, she's openly talked about it. She wants Sasha back in WWE. She wants Sasha to complete the circle.
So does Mo.
See, Mo wants it too.
So
once it happens, once Damage Control breaks up, do you think we'll see Sasha again?
This is a good question. I seen this question. I was like, oh, talking Sasha Banks again. It's very well possible the way they're setting it up. Or does she? I even said that the plot twist, does she flip flop and go to Bianca and Charlotte's team? Since she's going to be the face,
right?
Does she go on their side and even things up since Asuka's there? Because again, last time we saw Kairi Sane is Bayley took her out, so that would be the plot twist. She switches teams, and now would be her face turn. But I wouldn't mind seeing Sasha Banks again. We all know Sasha Banks is one of the greatest women champions, performers. She had her iconic matches with Charlotte and Becky. It's just when she was champion, it just feels like when Vince was in charge, he never let her hold the belt for a long time. So that was my only gripe about that. Now, what happened earlier in the year between Naomi and Sasha, they both were tag team champions, and they just left. Well, we see where Naomi is. She's in Impact with over there, and now it's circling. Sasha might end up in AEW. So I've heard those rumors. We don't know what TK can possibly pull out his hat to get a Sasha Banks in AEW. That would be crazy. But I mean, I think she should come back, in my opinion, and knock up because we all want to see Sasha Banks versus Jade Cargill, and Jade is in WWE now, so that would be the dream match that we can all want to see. Take my money, take all of it for me to see that match. So it could be a possible if she sits down with Triple H. Now he know that he's in charge of creative. It might happen. It might could happen. But I think the plot twist is going to be Bayley's going to join the other team with Charlotte and Bianca.
And just some backstage business. It was announced earlier this week that Vince is selling off $8.5 million of his shares. Again, further showing his exodus from WWE. Once the merger was official and Triple H was officially put in control of creative, Vince has a job. He has a pretty powerful job still within the company, but he really has no final power anymore. And there was people were wondering, once the merger was complete, what role would Vince settle into, knowing that, whatever he thinks, he has to get it approved from somebody above him. He is no longer the final say. And there was a definite division between Vince having any sort of say on the creative side. And now there's people above him telling him he doesn't have say on the creative side. The selling off of the stock that he is selling off is just a further indication that Vince's impact on WWE is waning. Obviously, it will never go away completely. Yeah. Triple H will always listen to his ideas, and Triple H will probably cherry pick the ones he thinks are actually good. But as we know, the issue with Vince is, as the years have gone on, the good ones have obviously been weighed down by the bad ones, and that is the situation that we are seeing. Now, Key, before you get out of here, we're going to pivot a little bit into some NBA stuff. This story broke yesterday. The return to the Charlotte Hornets here of Mr. Bridges. He was suspended 10 games by the NBA after a felony domestic violence charge. He had a string, and I'm going to say this. It was a string. It wasn't just one incident. There were a couple of incidents compounded together in this whole picture of a situation. But he had a string of situations that led to his suspension and his charges. He had his day in court, and he pled no contest. Now, anyone out there who doesn't quite know how the legal system works, when you plead no contest to something, That is code for I have a deal in place. I'm not going to say the words guilty, but I'm also not innocent. I have agreed to plead no
100%.
contest. They have agreed to give me some sort of a deal that isn't the full punishment of if I pled guilty, and then we're going to part ways. That is what that means. So I have no issue with him going through the legal process. I have no issue with him pleading no contest. Obviously, when you are in a legal situation and you have a lawyer and you can afford a good lawyer, which he obviously can, you don't want to go to jail and you don't want to be convicted of a felony. Those are his goals when you are in the situation that he is in. So he did what he had to do. He made the deal. He got the deal that was best for him. That's fine. My question to you guys was the headline that I saw yesterday, which was Charlotte comfortable in welcoming him back to the team. That's the one where I look at it and I'm like, well, what are we doing now? Because if you're comfortable welcoming him back to the team, and that means, and it was quoted because this is a direct quote from the Charlotte organization. They released a whole press statement saying that the legal process played out and they are comfortable having him back on the team right now. So that means that you are comfortable welcoming back somebody that you essentially, he did what he was accused of, and you're okay with him coming back into your locker room and being a part of your organization moving forward. To each their own. I'm not going to tell somebody how to run their business, Mo, but I am going to ask you this. What message is the team sending by saying they're comfortable with him being back on the squad?
That to me, the message is it's a bad message. If you're a talented player and you have the resources to afford a high-priced lawyer, you can get a plea deal, and you can plead down to a lower charge, and you can avoid jail time. And look, that is the legal process. That is what the district attorney and his lawyer agreed to. And I'm a full believer, letter of the law. If you serve your time, however that plays out. My problem is because the NBA is always talking about image and what they want to project to their fans and the general public. I think it's a bad look. And for the Charlotte Hornets to say, well, we're comfortable knowing the facts as it is that he's welcome back. I just took some notes. So knowing the facts. He pleaded no contest to felony count of injuring a child's parent in exchange for 3 years probation and no jail time. 52 weeks of parenting classes, 52 weeks of domestic violence counseling, 100 hours of community service. He's also agreed to pay the victim, not alleged victim, the victim restitution. This is what he signed off of to stay out of jail. And when you plead to something like that and all those things that I just read off, that meant the alternative was much worse. That's my problem.
And Key, that's the question coming in because, and I hate to characterize sports fans because we're all sports fans, but unfortunately there is a large portion of sports fans who will just look at headlines and make assumptions based on headlines without knowing the context of what took place. And seeing Bridges welcome back to Charlotte and knowing that he didn't go to jail, you have people who will look at that and say, oh, it's fine. It is what it is. They cleared it up. We're good to go. Well, yeah, Key, they cleared it up, but like Mo just said, there's a victim here. And if there's a victim, that means that what he is accused of, what the photographs showed, he did. So as an NBA organization, as a group of men who play with him in that locker room, what does that look like in your opinion, Key, to welcome a guy back who maybe he's your friend, maybe he's a work friend, maybe you don't really talk to him, but everyone knows what he did. And everyone knows what he had to agree to, which is nothing to take lightly. 52 weeks is a long time. Long time, all right? So 52 weeks of parenting classes, 52 weeks of domestic violence classes, 100 hours of community. Is that what it was, Mo? 100 hours of community service?
Yep, and he's going to pay restitution, which means
he's
he's going to write her a big fat check for what he did. You can call it restitution, but I'll simplify it. Big fat check for what you did.
Correct. So that's a lot. So, and that's public knowledge, Key. And there are some men in this world who will look at him and say, "You're garbage now. You did this to a woman. We're done. You don't roll in my inner circle anymore." And there's others who will, it is what it is. There's others who might be friends with him who it is what it is. But Key, just looking at it from an NBA stance, why? What is the benefit of this? Because wouldn't the Hornets make such a bigger statement if they simply said, we waited until the legal process was over. We understand that he didn't go to jail and he pled no contest. But at this time, this simply isn't a player that we want to associate our brand with. And that's it. Why not just do that?
So, Adam Silver, you might as well bring what's the name back? Kevin Porter Jr. You might as well just bring him back into the locker room. Just bring Kevin Porter Jr. back into the locker room. You're not going to take some charge on it. Pleading no contest, in my mind, is context. It means you're guilty. In my opinion, no contest means you guilty. You're just not saying you are. Because why are you paying restitution to the victim? Why? If you're not guilty, you did something. You clearly did something. It's evidence. So it's like it's a slap in the face, honestly, because they got rid of Kevin Porter Jr. They traded him. Houston got him out of here. They traded him, and then OKC waived him, so he don't have no job. What was the point? Don't bring back Bridges. Make a standpoint, especially if y'all don't condone domestic violence. Having a man hit a woman is cowardless, in my opinion. Of any reason, circumstance, whatever the reason may be, knowing you're an NBA player, you're stronger than half these women. So, you're not setting an example. You get rid of Kevin Porter Jr., but you bring back Miles Bridges. It's you might as well bring back everybody. Just bring back everybody who did something wrong. Bring back Porter Jr. Bring back, I don't know who else was recently in the news about stuff, but bring him back too. I feel like you setting an example. You're not setting an example. You're like, all right, well, he pleaded no contest, so I guess it's okay to bring him back. So what, you just get LaMelo Ball's buddy back to help to help him? Like, that's pretty much what you're doing. So I don't like it. I think he should have been out, just like Porter Jr. is not an NBA. Set the example. Play overseas. You still want to play basketball overseas? It just I don't like it either. I'm with Mo here. I don't like it at all for basketball. Just the image, NBA is a great game we all love to watch. Prestige is involved in this. I don't like it. You suspend Draymond Green for choking out Rudy Gobert, but we're not. Oh, and you suspend Ja Morant for flashing guns. He didn't shoot nobody on live, but he just flashed it. You suspend him for 25 games, but you hit somebody, a woman. You pleaded no contest, and you paying her money, but you're back in the NBA. You right, Adam Silver. But yeah, no.
And don't forget, there's actually two victims, because I believe it happened in front of the kid.
Yep.
There are two victims.
Yep.
In that situation, and don't forget, just last month, October 13th, he turned himself in because he violated allegedly the restraining order.
Yep.
So I don't know how they're comfortable with that. You're sending the wrong message. And I know these stories are not connected, but Chris started the show off with a story that's still ringing in my ears about the young man that was trying to show school spirit and wear a face paint to at a football event. And I'm thinking, look what he's going through. Look what Bridges pled down to, but is allowed to come back to his job. This kid, I'm not going to get on a soapbox. I'm not, I promise. I just have a lot of problems with stuff like this.
Key, we appreciate you coming on every Friday. Love having you here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next Friday, okay?
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you, Key.
See y'all guys.
All right, Mo. It's that time. It's that time of the week. We got NFL picks to make.
All right.
We got week 11 here. We have lots of things going on in the NFL. We're getting close to that time, Mo, where we have to start looking at things. And are you a playoff team? Are you not a playoff team? Are you in contention? Are you not in contention? Those are honest questions that we have to start asking ourselves. So let's start with my guys. the Miami Dolphins, we are up to 13-point favorites. We opened up at 11.5-point favorites. We are up to 13. We're playing host to the Las Vegas Raiders. I take nothing away from the Raiders. I think Adams is going to get his numbers. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at Mike McDaniels off a bye week. He's had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. It's a bye week coming off of a loss and another big game against another big team that the Dolphins lost to. This is not a good Raiders football team. I understand they've won 2 in a row. They beat the New York Giants and they beat the New York Jets. Give me a goddamn break. They're not beating good teams. They are not a good team. I've seen nothing out of this rookie quarterback that puts any fear at all into me. Even in the 2 games that he has won, I haven't seen it, Mo. I haven't seen anything where I'm like, oh, this could be the guy. They have Max Crosby on defense. I will give them that. To a better always have an idea of where Crosby is,
yes,
because he's going to get his hands on you. So keep an eye on Max Crosby. But aside from that, I think the Dolphins are going to pull away in the second half. I can see it being another one of those 14, 20-point victories. And Devon Achane is making his return. And he is still like a top 15 running back, even though he hasn't played in like 5 weeks. So it's time.
So I do expect the Dolphins to win this fairly easy. But to Antonio Pierce's credit, he does have those guys playing hard, right?
Oh, 100%.
They're not a very talented team overall, but he's got them playing hard. They're competing. You do have Josh Jacobs. You do have Devontae Adams. Maybe both of them have pretty good games. I don't think, however, that will be good enough to keep up with the firepower that the Dolphins are going to put out on the field. So I expect Miami to win going away.
The New York Jets, the 4-5 Jets, head to the 5-5 Bills. Mo, there are 2 teams in this league that I don't think Josh Allen can find a way to lose to, and that is the New York Giants and the New York Jets. Any other team, don't care what the record is, don't care who the quarterback is, I could convince myself Josh Allen could find a way to lose to them, but I cannot see him losing to this Jets team again. I just don't see it. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be rocky with their new offensive coordinator. I think early in the game, Josh is going to make mistakes because he's going to try to be overcoming for the firing of his offensive coordinator, for the fact that it's like a must-win game, for the fact that he feels that he has something to prove. But in the end, I just don't think Zach Wilson and the Jets can score 14 points. And I think Buffalo is going to score at least 17. And if they score 17, I don't think the Jets can beat them.
If they score 17, you know what? I would agree with you, but I'm going to say this. I think pressure busts pipes. I think the Buffalo Bills, I think Josh Allen, I think their head coach, it's a lot of pressure on that team right now. This is a team that's descending. They're supposed to be in a run to be one of the top teams to compete for a Super Bowl, and it seems like the run is over. And I actually feel like going into the game, the Jets are playing with house money. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I do think Josh Allen's going to come out playing aggressive. That doesn't mean he's going to play well. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I like the Jets' defense to turn Josh Allen over. I like the Jets' defense and special teams to get a touchdown. I'm going to go with the Jets.
So to clarify, Mo, Zach Wilson's not going to beat the Bills.
No, I didn't say that.
The Jets' defense and special teams will beat the Bills, which, by the way, is what happened in the first game.
Yes.
The special teams won the first game.
Let me clarify. Zach Wilson will not lose the game.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. I respect that. It's the return of Justin Fields this week. He hasn't played in about a month. The 3-7 Bears are heading to the 7-2 Lions. Good news if you're a Bears fan. This game is not going to hurt your draft stock because you are not beating the Detroit Lions in Detroit. He hasn't played in a month. He's going to be a little rusty. Yes, he's electric. Yes, he's going to elevate the quarterback play for the Chicago Bears. But you're playing a legitimate playoff team this week, and the Bears just are not that. So I think Detroit's going to win pretty handedly.
Yeah, I've got the Lions too. I don't think this is going to be that competitive a football game. I trust Jared Goff and the offense. Love what Coach Campbell and them are doing with the defense as well. So I've got Detroit winning this one fairly easy as well.
And watch out for Jahmyr Gibbs. The rookie is setting the world on fire right now. And they still have David Montgomery, who comes in the backside and has like 100-yard games sometimes. So Bright
They've got
days.
some explosive players. Yeah.
Bright days in Detroit right now. The 2-8 Cardinals are heading to the 5-4 Texans. This is my first upset pick of the week, Mo. I like Kyler Murray. I think Kyler looked great last week. That one play that we talked about earlier in the week where he was running the wrong direction for a quarter of the play because he needed to gear up and get a good look to run in the right direction. The fact that he did that shows you that Kyler is back. And he's playing for a job next year, whether it's in Arizona or whether it's with another team. And let's be honest, Mo, the more games you win if you're Kyler Murray, the less likely they are to trade you. Because if you lose games and they get the top draft pick, your replacement's coming in. They're drafting your replacement. You win 5 or 6 games this season, the number 1 pick or one of the top quarterbacks, they're not in reach. And you've proven you can win. So they're going to roll with you. So he's literally playing for his career for the next 3 or 4 years. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an upset here. I like what Houston is doing. I really do. But Mo, they've lost some head scratchers this year. They lost to Carolina. This is an up and down team, and I take nothing away from their defense or CJ Stroud. I think it's going to be a good game. I just like Arizona more.
I think this is going to be somewhat of a shootout. I do. And you're right. Kyler Murray, like you said, on that one play, I don't think there's another quarterback in football who could have done what he did. To have the quickness to literally be in a dead sprint in the opposite direction to get separation so you could turn the corner and go the right way. He's the only guy quick enough to pull that off. I think he's electric. I agree with you. He is playing, he's auditioning in a sense for the Cardinals as well as other NFL teams. I expect him to play well, but I think CJ Stroud and the Texans offense will play well also. So I'm going to go with the Texans.
The interesting thing about Kyler, and I know people like to compare rushing quarterbacks, so him and Lamar get a lot of comparisons. I would take Kyler as a rusher over Lamar only for this reason. When Lamar runs around, Lamar's fast, right? Lamar's straightaway speed is elite. But Lamar's move is that one little shift. Like he'll make you miss once, and then Lamar's gone. Kyler, he's constantly juking. When Kyler runs backwards and his back is to defenders, he's juking because he knows that he's quick enough to do a pop step left, and a pop step right while he's not even facing you to make the trailing defender miss so he can then turn that corner.
Right.
That's how elite he is as a runner. He's constantly shifting all the time while he's moving. And you just look, you can't teach that, Mo. It's just instinct.
It is. He has a lateral quickness that I think that no other quarterback in the NFL has. His side to side, his ability to shift, stop, and restart again. Nobody else can do that.
The Chargers are heading to the Packers. Talk about disappointing teams this season. The Packers were viewed as a potential underdog to potentially not just get into the playoffs, but win their division. And then the Chargers were viewed as a playoff team by many people coming into this season. The Chargers, if they get back to 500, like we said, the AFC is murky. So if they can win this game, it puts them back into the playoff conversation. I don't have much faith in Jordan Love. He's up, he's down, he's down, he's up. He's all over the place. At least with Herbert, you know you're going to get numbers. Can the defense do anything? Who the heck knows, depending on what week it is. But I don't think the defense is going to get blown out of the water by Jordan Love. So I go Chargers.
I think the Packers have the better defense. Not the better defensive talent, but they have the better defense. But again, I'm going with you. I'm going to go with Herbert. I'm going to go with Allen. I'm going to go with Eckler and all the talent that they have on that side of the football. I think they're just going to put up too many points.
The Dallas Cowboys go on the road to the Carolina Panthers. We know that Dak on the road isn't as great as Dak home as a favorite. But the Panthers are awful. And the Dallas Cowboys destroy awful teams. They're going to roll them. They're coming off rolling the Giants. I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Giants game. I think that the Panthers have a little more talent on the offensive side of the ball. But I think it might be over by halftime. I'm going Cowboys.
So they won't put up 40-something points on the Panthers, but I think they're going to put up 30-something points. So, yes, I'm going Panthers. I'm going Cowboys. The thing with the Panthers is they just don't have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the football. And Bryce Young is doing what a lot of young quarterbacks do in their first year. You just struggle and you learn on the fly. Some guys excel, some guys struggle, and it's not all on Bryce Young. They have one of the worst offensive lines in football, but it is a tough season for Carolina. I'm definitely going to go with the Cowboys.
And Mo, brace yourself, because after this game, you're going to hear them coming back out of the woodwork. Those Dallas Cowboy fans.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing when you're 5-3 coming off a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now they're going to be 7-3, baby. And they're going to be talking about potential number 1 seed if a couple of things fall their way. All the conversations are back on the table if Dallas rolls Carolina this weekend. And don't we love just hearing Cowboy fan talk?
We do. And look, we all have our favorite teams, and every fan base is different, but no fan base is like the Dallas Cowboys fan base. They're very unique.
That's a great way of saying it. Very unique. The New York Giants head to the Washington Commanders. It's only 8. The spread is only 8.5 points on this game, Mo, but this could be the biggest blowout of the weekend. The Giants, they just don't have a quarterback. And I know that the Commanders' defense isn't what it was 2 weeks ago before they started selling off pieces, but this Giants team isn't what it was a month ago when they had Daniel Jones as a quarterback, and it wasn't saying much when he was there. So I'm going Washington. It could be a 7-point win. It could be a 20-point win. I wouldn't be surprised either way, but I don't think the Giants have a chance to win this game.
I'm going Washington. Look, if DeVito's starting, honestly, I would be shocked if the Redskins didn't blow them out. No offense to the young man. He's just not ready.
In what could be a game of the week, the 6-3 Pittsburgh Steelers head to the 6-3 Cleveland Browns. We have quarterback on rest in Cleveland. The rookie quarterback is getting the start. Last time we saw him, he threw 3 interceptions. PJ Walker will be the backup. He's thrown 5 interceptions this season. Pittsburgh has an above-average defense. They are probably getting ready to feast on the Cleveland Brown quarterbacks, but Pittsburgh can't score points. They average 17.3 points a game, and they are going against a really, really good defense. This could also be the hardest game to call this week, Mo. I'm going to go Cleveland, because you can't keep getting outgained. You can't keep getting out-yardaged. You can't keep getting outclassed and win football games in the NFL. And I think that this defense is going to give Pickett trouble. I understand that Mike Tomlin keeps pulling rabbits out of his hat, but I think at least for this week, they're going to pay the piper and they're going to fall to the Cleveland Browns.
So the best unit to me in that football game is the Browns defense. And the best player in the field, as gifted as Watt is, I still think it's Myles Garrett. I expect the Cleveland Browns defense to turn the Pittsburgh Steelers over multiple times. They will find a way to generate enough offense to win the football game.
The Tennessee Titans at 3-6 head to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lot of noise for Will Levis when he made his debut. It's died down a little bit. They just lost to the Buccaneers 20-6. They didn't find the end zone in that game. I think they'll find the end zone against the Jaguars. I don't think they're going to beat the Jaguars, though.
No.
Jacksonville needs to bounce back. They just had an embarrassing performance against the 49ers. They're at home. It's a division game. They move to 7-3. They reassert themselves as the favorite to win that division. If they fall to 6-4, the Colts are sitting at 5-5. You start to wonder if the division is going to slip away. But I think they assert themselves here. I think Jacksonville wins comfortably. I'm going Jacksonville.
I'm going Jacksonville as well. It's a big bounce back game for them. So I think you're going to get a better game from Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne is going to have a big game. I just think this is a must win for them just to reestablish themselves in that division, and I think they will.
The 4-5 Buccaneers head to the 6-3 Niners. It's not going to be a pretty week for Baker Mayfield. I know.
And I like Baker.
I like Baker too. They got the win last week against the Titans. Their 500 is within their grasp. We know that division isn't great. We know that if you can finish above 500 in that division, you have a chance to win that division. Unfortunately for Tampa, it's not going to be pretty this week. I think you're going to see something similar to what you saw last week with the Niners. The difference being the Buccaneers are a less talented offense than the Jacksonville Jaguars are. And I would even say they're about average on defense. So I think you're going to see a very similar performance. It's at home for San Francisco. They're a 12-point favorite. The Niners are going to roll.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a workman-like performance from the Niners. I think they're going to win. I'll say something like 24-10.
The 6-3 Seahawks heading to the 3-6 Rams. It's tough when you don't have Matthew Stafford. Carson Wentz is there now. They have some weapons on offense, but this Rams team has proven if Stafford's not playing, it just doesn't look the same. I know that Seattle had a disappointing loss a couple of weeks ago. I know they played a game closer last week against Washington than we thought it was going to be. They won that game, though. They played well in that game. They came back late in that game. I think that they're going to win another close game here against the Rams.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks win as well. Right. Carson Wentz is there, so you do have a capable quarterback, but you and I know here's the thing about Carson Wentz. For every good throw he makes, there's a couple of bad throws that come behind them. I think that they'll turn him over a couple times, and Seattle will win.
In the most interesting game of the week, Mo, the 6-4 Joshua Dobbs-led Minnesota Vikings.
Woo! Josh Dobbs.
Head to the 4-5 newly rejuvenated Denver Broncos. Broncos have beaten Mahomes and the Chiefs. Broncos have beaten Josh Allen and the Bills. Russell Wilson, I believe, is third in the league in touchdown passes. I believe that he is top 5 in QB rating. I believe he is top 10 in completion percentage. The numbers all look good for Russ, even though he usually ends up 23 for 28 with 185 yards.
Right.
But,
right.
It looks like they're turning a corner. But then you got the Josh Dobbs train on the other side that's trying to go full steam ahead and get this team into the playoffs. It is in Denver, which I think is going to benefit the Broncos. But I told Mo, we said it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm not picking against Dobbs until he loses. I'm all aboard the Josh Dobbs train. Until he loses a game, I'm going Vikings.
So here's the thing. I've made no secret. I've always rooting for Russ. I want Russ to reestablish himself as one of the better quarterbacks in football. But the best story in football is Josh Dobbs. It really is. And I'm with you 100%. Look, I think Denver will win the football game, but I'm going to pick the Vikings in an upset because I'm rolling with Josh Dobbs. I'm rolling with that receiving core, even without Justin Jefferson. They've caused people some problems. And I just think Josh Dobbs is on a roll.
And let's give credit where credit is due. The Vikings defense has played well the last couple of weeks.
A lot better.
So that defensive unit, just like the Broncos defensive unit has turned a corner, so has the Vikings defensive unit. So I think it's going to be a really great game. And then, of course, we have the Monday night matchup. We're not going to pick it now, but it is the Eagles and the Chiefs. And it's a big one, Mo. And all I'm going to say is this. We had Gene on the show Wednesday, and Gene talked about it being a revenge game. Gene talked about how Philly wants Kansas City. Philly wants this game. Philly wants it to be in Arrowhead. Philly fans, I will say this. If you don't think Mahomes doesn't want it that much more, if you don't think that Mahomes loves the fact that you want revenge, and Mahomes loves the fact that you're coming to his house where you think you're going to get revenge, if you don't think that lights a fire under Patrick, I don't know what you're thinking, because you don't pull on Superman's cape. And Patrick Mahomes is Superman. And you can say Jalen Hurts is this and Jalen Hurts is that. But I look at Patrick Mahomes, Mo, and I see that Tom Brady-esque in there of you don't give him a little bit of motivation. You don't give, because Tom had games like that, right? Tom had games where people were like, well, maybe this is it, right? Maybe this is the team, or this team has had Tom Brady's number in the past. And, Tom always said the right things, and he smiled, and he went out there and he hung 40 on you. and you're like, oh, Tom was angry. Tom was still pushing the ball down the field in the fourth quarter, up by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I think that's how you knew that Tommy was upset, right? And I just think that you don't need to make it more than it is, and Philly fans are. So be careful what you ask for, right, Mo?
Look, it's a big game. It is a big game, and I get it. It does matter to both football teams, but that's what I would point out. I think it matters to both football teams. It's a rematch, sure, but Kansas City is still trying to put themselves in position to get a home field in the playoffs. So they're just thinking about piling up wins. And you brought up a great point. You don't think Patrick Mahomes wants some of this? Of course he wants some of this.
Of course he wants some. He always wants some.
Of course he wants some of this. He is Brady-like in that way where he's like, he'll say all the right things, but I think he'll be up for this game as well. I think Kelsey will be up for this game. So it's going to be a great football game. We're not going to pick it, but I'm with you on this. Don't think for a minute that the Chiefs won't be up for this.
And side note here, Mo, maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. Taylor Swift will be at this game.
Chiefs win.
And
no.
her parents will be meeting the Kelsey parents
for the
first time. I'm just saying, Mo. When Taylor shows up, things usually go well for the Chiefs.
Wow. I would just like to sit at that table and listen to those two families talk.
Right. I just want to hear the conversation.
Yeah, I just want to hear the conversation. I just want to be there.
Mo, great show as always. It was great having Key on this morning.
Always.
Close us out, sir.
Appreciate everybody for the support, checking us out this morning, and everybody that will check us out later. Check out all the great content we've got on Sports Empire Network. Check out the Empire.
Make sure you're back here Monday morning where we recap everything that happened over the weekend in the NFL. We break down the Monday Night Football matchup with the Eagles and the Chiefs. JG will be here to talk baseball on Monday. It's always great to start on Monday mornings with JG. All of that and more Monday here on Coffee and Sports in the Morning Show. We'll see you then.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, isn't he?